Hello, I am LaFaye Farrar, aka Loving LaFaye of Readings by LaFaye.com. And I am an astrologer and clairvoyant and author of this book, Twin Flames Journey to Divine Partnership. Isn't that a beautiful cover? It was designed by my spiritual brother, Khalik Scientific, and my publisher is Inner Child Press, owned and operated by my spiritual big brother, William S. Peters Sr. Look him up here on YouTube and Google him, or and Google them both because they are experts in their area of services. Well, this is part 2 of Twin Flames Journey to Divine Partnership, and I want to elaborate a little bit more on the book and soul connections. In addition to talking about twin flames in the book, I also touch on soulmates, but briefly, because everyone is pretty much familiar with soulmates. I mean, the term has echoed throughout the ages, and everybody has been desirous to be with their soulmates and live happily ever after. However, soulmates do share a very pleasant, harmonious relationship, not exempt from, life's ups and downs and bumps and bruises along the way. However, soulmates really gel together well. They work together. They're usually the ones who definitely nurture progressive families, and they work together professionally too, and establish thriving businesses as well as charitable organizations and things of that nature. Now, twin flames, which is the highest order of soulmates, their ultimate purpose and goal at this time in the shift of humanity is to be in service to humanity according to their gifts and talents of each individual, of the divine masculine and divine feminine energy, and their combined energy that gives birth to their mission. It's kind of like each one of their individual spiritual gifts, talents, and skills all come together, and they give birth to something really wonderful that in turn serves humanity and helps raise the vibration of this planet. Now, soulmates differ from twin souls because twin souls, we only have one, that one divine counterpart, the exact energetic essence to our own, connected at the heart center, like an invisible umbilical cord and an etheric lifeline that exists between them. Okay, so they're always connected, even when they're not aware of each other in physical embodiment, or when they are far away from each other, different states, cities, countries, However, twin souls have that wonderful ability to communicate telepathically, send signals to each other, even if they're not aware of one another in the physical. But when they do meet in the physical, it is definitely like an instant attraction and a familiarity. Like when I connected with my twin soul in June of 2012, it was at a social event, and I literally saw him from across the room. Actually, I was preparing to leave, and I write about our story in the book. It's the chapter called The Jock and LaFaye Story. Anyway, and I give a little detail, and I share some of our story as well as our astrological compatibility, which supports our twin flame connection. And that, in essence, is what motivated me to write the book, to also, let the public know that astrology is definitely a tool that can be used in determining you know, where we are in soul connections, whether it's a karmic partner, a soulmate, or a twin soul. Now, getting back to that instant attraction connection between twin flames, it's electric. You know, flame is definitely the word to use, because your soul is set on fire. You know, with the anticipation of like actually becoming whole is what the excitement is, because your divine feminine or divine masculine energy recognizes that that is your divine counterpart for the whole. So you know, there's a physical attraction, but this is something that goes way deep, and a soul connection, you know, a spiritual bond, you know, that is not quite evident to the two persons unless their spiritual evolution is quite high. Now, I was aware of that I had the twin flame call. I did not know who he was and where he would come about, but I knew that our paths would cross. And when I saw him, I knew who he was. When he spoke, his voice just echoed as if I've heard that voice throughout my life in many lifetimes. That's just how deep it was. And the more that we talked and got to know each other, it was just evident that we had, you know, a soul connection. And because I knew I had the twin flame call, of course, I had to, you know, consult with divine spirit. And is this him? You know, I didn't want to lean on my own, you know, understanding, because I was so attracted to this man. And it was a very strong physical attraction as well. However, using my skills with astrology and doing our synastry chart, where there's two natal charts put together, and you see how the planets relate to one another and the signs within the two charts, you know, the alignments and the aspects, and which gives you the compatibility, the synastry between the two individuals. And his and mine was just absolutely awesome. You know, now all twin flames don't have the same astrological blueprint, of course not, because no individual has the same birth chart. You know, we're all unique individuals, and each twin soul pair, twin flames coming together, they have their own energetic essence, which is their cosmic identification to one another. So you can't match and compare, which I do it on a research level, but there's no twin flame astrological blueprint that matches another twin flame. But there are key things that I look for, and I go into detail with the potential twin flame couple or the individual that's, you know, inquiring about a twin flame connection. And is, you know, there's some spiritual advice and some spiritual work to do in the process too. So it's a combination of my astrological skill and my spiritual gifts that I developed the twin flame guidance reading. Now, like I said on the book, I just touched briefly on soulmates because everyone's so familiar with what soulmates are. However, soulmates can be friends, family, or our romantic partners or intimate partners. You know, so that's the difference between soulmates and twin souls. But now there's another soul connection that is equally as important, because this connection, these connections are very intense. It's not the same intensity as the twin soul recognition, but it's an intense attraction because on a soul level, we need lessons from this person. That person has lessons to teach us, and we have, you know, lessons to learn from them, and they have lessons to teach us, and vice versa. We have lessons to teach them. Anyway, the mutual exchange of lessons to learn and teach, feel like that. And these karmic partners, they help us balance our karmic debt. Now, in a birth chart, I look for Saturn's placement in a person's chart, and that reveals to me their karmic lessons in this lifetime. You know, the thing that they come in, this world to get on a soul level this go round. Our soul evolves over and over again until it attains that full ascension level, the Christ consciousness. And twin souls together can ascend to that Christ consciousness. So because on a soul level, twin souls are very, very up there on the spiritual hierarchy, because they are so important to the raising of the consciousness here on planet Earth. And twin souls, depending on their spiritual level, some twin souls have already achieved the mastery level, the ascension process, and they come voluntarily, to aid us. And some of us, we're right there, not touching the ceiling yet. So, and then some are, quite just, really just beginning upon their spiritual path, just receive their awakening or that activation. And like I said, I knew I had the twin flame call, and that was shortly after my spiritual awakening. And that's when I received the activation doing work on my heart chakra. Well, all of my chakras, but specifically my heart chakra, because quite a bit of blockages there. But I won't go into detail on that. I'll do another video talking about the chakras and everything, and how astrology and the chakras go hand in hand too. But anyway, as my heart chakra, opened, and this wave of love for myself and love for others, and the whole unconditional love thing, that's when I got that activation, to connect with my twin flame. Although I had a face and no name to who he was, but I knew that we were drawing closer and closer to one another. So like I said, when I met him, I recognized him on a soul level, attracted on a physical level, but recognition on a soul level. So soulmates and twin flames had the privilege of developing divine partnership. I got a little sidetracked. Let's get back to this other soul connection. This soul connection is a very trying and testing relationship. It's called a karmic partnership. As I said, Saturn in our birth charts reveal our karmic lessons. Neptune in our birth chart reveals our karmic debt. And, we all have a price to pay. Most of us, we come in with some stuff, with some baggage. We got to clear up, and some of us create some, to add to it, so we have some karmic lessons to endure, and our souls, and tested on a soul level. So for our soul evolution, to attain that Christ consciousness. So these karmic partners, although trying and testing, they are essential to our spiritual growth. They really are. Now, upon my spiritual awakening, that's when I realized I was in a karmic partnership. And Divine Spirit just downloaded all this relationship stuff to me. Now, the astrology part, I was already delving into. I hadn't launched my spiritual practice yet, readings by LaFaye. However, I was in preparation for it. Astrology had always been a hobby. I mean, I was doing relationship compatibility, not in its entirety according to the synastry, but based on the sun signs and things like that. And I've read everything Linda Goodman, wrote. And matter of fact, my favorite book of hers is Linda Goodman's Love Signs. I mean, this book has journeyed with me for a very, very long time, and I still refer back to it, for my own personal astrological development. And she speaks on twin flames at the intro of the book. It's a beautiful thing. So, and that's when I first, heard of it. However, it didn't register then. It's not until Divine Spirit, like I said, when I got that heart activation of the twin flame call, Then, you know, in going through resources, that book being one of them, and others, and, you know, searching online and listening to videos, did I become familiar with the term twin flame, twin soul, and how it differed from an actual soulmate. Then there's a lot of information out here, and there's some information, you know, of conflicting thought, disparities of what one person says versus another. All of you won't agree with what I'm telling you, but I use a combination of astrology and my spiritual gifts to determine, you know, the twin flame potential, to confirm a soulmate union, or whether or not you're in a karmic partnership. And back to those karmic partnerships, they are very testing and trying. Saturn, the planet of lessons and restrictions, in order to build discipline and structure in our lives, made a transit through Libra, which is all about relationships. You know, Libra's energy. Libra rules the 7th house on the zodiac wheel of relationships and partnerships. And Libra's energy, of course, the symbol is the scales, and it's about balance. So Saturn's influence as it transited Libra was all about bringing balance to our relationships and partnerships and doing the work. You know, work is a excellent word in relationship to Saturn's energy. So that transit was from 2009 to 2012, October 2009 to October 2012, 3-year transit. And during that time, many karmic partnerships fell apart for the better, for those people to move to step on now and attract a soulmate, or answer their twin flame call. However, only if they did the work, the inner work, reconciling with their higher self, as I talk about in the book, and, you know, and really developing on a you know, a soul level, really putting the work in, settling your karmic debt and removing that karmic debris. Often when twin flames actually do connect or reunite, there's some karmic debris that may still be, you know, energetically around them, maybe the attachments to their former karmic partners, and other, you know, obstacles that may hinder them from fully merging. And it's a process, you know, and once the two are very aware of who they are to one another and willing to work together to clear that path, then, you know, the path will definitely become clear. And in my twin flame guidance readings, I give a lot of helpful tools in doing that, and, you know, spiritual counsel, as well as, you know, astrological points and how they relate to each other, you know, on a personality level. And on that personality level, that reveals, you know, that ego. And see, that's something that's got to be truly put aside in a twin flame union. You know, no ego can exist. And because it's all about that soul connection. And that takes a lot of work to surrender that ego. It really does. So twin souls, once they reunite, there's still work to do. But prior to that, the individuals have to do work on themselves. Now, just coming out of a karmic partnership, which, like I said, many collapsed during the Saturn and Libra transit. However, those who still didn't get those lessons, it didn't really click why they attracted that situation. They wasn't willing to look in the mirror and say, hey, this is about me. This is about my growth and development. Not so much as the blame game on the other person. You know, they have their issues too. That's why y'all came together, to bring all them issues to the surface. And for one of you or both of you to say, I got to do better than this, you know. And the person that's, you know, willing to work on themselves, admit, own their mess, and clean it up. And, you know, and Saturn was lending the energy to do that. However tough the lessons may be, you know, Saturn gives a reward at the end of its transit. You know, individual Saturn returns, you know, but on a relationship level too. And, you know, and on a generational level as well, and on a collective level during the Saturn and Libra transit. So Saturn really made us step up to the plate and recognize dysfunctional relationships. Not that they were not recognizable before, but like I said, Saturn lends the energy of, okay, I got to do something about this. You know, it's time to not be complacent. And when Saturn was retrograde, all those relationship issues that had been swept under the rug, you know, they definitely resurfaced. You know, because sometimes we can put something aside and just say, well, I'm just not going to deal with it. I'll go along with it, concentrate on something else and just be miserable, you know, with the relationship itself. But it's just too much work to, you know, to tackle it. But Saturn says, no, you got to roll up your sleeves and it's time to do the work. And that was a good thing, the transit of Saturn in Libra. And I wrote about it in the book. You know, I said the planet Saturn's transit through a sign takes roughly 2.5 years, depending upon retrograde cycles. Everyone experiences a Saturn return cycle every 28 to 30 years of their lifespan. And this marks maturity and brings life lessons to build discipline and structure in the areas of which we need. This transit required us collectively to roll up our sleeves and do the necessary work on our relationships. Individually, and depending upon what Libra is in your chart, is where you had to address your relationship issues. Now, my relationship compatibility readings became very, very popular, and I got really good at them and really pinpointing, you know, the karmic partnerships from the soulmate unions and the potential twin flame relationships. So Saturn and Libra, you know, I wrote an article, will make or break a relationship, and I posted on Facebook. You can find me there, LaFaye Farrar, aka Loving LaFaye, and become my friend. And look for my Readings by LaFaye page on Facebook as well, and visit my website, readingsbylafaye.com. But back to this transit. You know, long story short, see if there was anything else I wanted to read. I should have highlighted, but this is one sentence here. Saturn demands that we mature and let go of behaviors that don't encourage growth. Now the ego will talk us out of that. You know, the ego, well, you don't need to change anything, it's all their fault. You know, the ego tell you all kind of things. But what happens if you leave a karmic relationship and haven't did the individual work on yourself? You'll enter another karmic relationship. Those same lessons will come back to you just from a different angle. So it's pertinent when you're in those test and trying relationships to really get what source is trying to give you for your soul growth. You know, by all means, exit immediately out of abusive relationships, physically, emotionally, etc., because that lesson is too harsh. However, the true lesson is, why did you attract that? And so that's all about learning to love yourself, you know, building up your self-esteem from a positive level, not an egocentric, but from a heart-centered level, you know. And that's all about then opening that heart chakra and gaining that heart activation and you know, walking in unconditional love. And that's when you will truly attract your divine partner. So these karmic partnerships, they are, you know, a line to toe, but it is definitely necessary for us to grow. Definitely necessary. But I urge you, if you're in a karmic partnership, don't just jump out of it and jump in another. Take a time out and work on you. Now, Saturn and Libra transit has passed and ended October 2012, as I said. But then Saturn entered Scorpio. So what Saturn didn't deal with you on when it was in Libra, in general, relationships and partnerships, Saturn is really up in your business now, because Scorpio's energy is sex, intimacy, and joint finances. And those are some of the three major things that couples, you know, battle about, or the things that really solidify and strengthen a union. So I touch on that a little bit in the book too. But my next book, Twin Flames Passionate Partnership, would definitely speak more on that Saturn and Scorpio transit, because as I said, Scorpio deals with, sex and deep intimacy. So I'll discuss more about that twin flame igniting of the Kundalini fire, and the ecstasy of twin flame reunion. But for now, I'm just going to stop there, and you can definitely seek my services by visiting my website and click on my readings and services page, and I have a pretty extensive menu. And if you're not sure about a relationship before getting into it, matter of fact, that's the best time to have a relationship compatibility reading done, is prior to making a commitment to the relationship, and you'll know where it's at. And it gives you the blueprint. Even if it's a karmic partnership and you're already in it, at least you know what it is and what you are to do. I've really empowered a lot of clients with that knowledge. And then they get it, and they're like, okay, I got to work on me and get out of this and do better, attract better to me. And the book has several great affirmations, for those of you who are seeking, divine partnership. And like I said, it's all a process. But this book was written as a guide to the reunion process of twin flames, and to bring clarity on the soul connections of karmic partnerships, soulmate unions, and twin flame reunions. And once again, it's Twin Flames, Journey to Divine Partnership, by yours truly, LaFaye Farrar, aka Loving LaFaye. You can find me at readingsbylafaye.com. LaFaye is LaFaye. And you can also send me an email at lovinglafay@yahoo.com. Thank you so much for your time. And there will be a consecutive video on this whole Twin Flame Journey to Divine Partnership, because there's so much more that I want to share with you all in the process. But like I said, order an astrological consultation with me, or if you've connected with your twin flame and you really need help in this whole thing, that's why I developed that twin flame guidance reading, to be of assistance, because this is a very, very awesome relationship, so much potential, and a very necessary union for such a time as this, because twin flames are the prototype for the new age, and essential in restoring this earth to paradise, and raising the vibration and the consciousness here. And I personally do my part as an individual and as part of a twin flame union. It's a beautiful thing. However, those of you in soulmate unions, you also have the privilege of developing divine partnership as well. And I'll speak more on the differences between the two in the next video. But divine partnership is based on mutual love and affection, trust and respect, admiration and devotion, with commitment and communication. So these things have to be developed. Even with great relationship compatibility as shared between myself and my twin flame chart, it still work, because what I say, the personality has that ego. The personality is just layers of the ego. In the birth chart, the personality that starts to develop in the first house, and there's 12 houses in the birth chart. Each house represents an area of our lives and a layer of our personality. And that 12th house does represent that surrender to the higher power, and the putting down of the egos, that's on a spiritual level. And so one has to be in that spiritual, awareness, have received their spiritual awakening to really get that. And twin souls definitely don't connect until they're both spiritually awake. And a lot of people are thinking that they've met their twin flame and it's a karmic partnership, because each has an intense pulling, but it's for different reasons. And so you really got to know, the signs to look for, and where you're at in the process on an individual level, you know. And some people say, well, I'm, you know, more spiritually evolved than, you know, my divine counterpart, and that very well may be the case. And often the divine feminine guides the relationship. The divine feminine receives the activation first. However, each partner has to be spiritually awake. But on an individual level, they each have their pace, you know, of the ascension process. However, that pace has definitely stepped up. Twin flames, you know, is accelerated now, because like I said, this is a very important time in the evolution of mankind, of humanity, and twin flames are definitely play a vital role in that. So I urge you to find out where you are in your relationship. You know, if you're a person that is you know, spiritually awake and desire divine partnership and desire to do your part to raise, you know, the vibration of the planet. Relationships are so important, you know. And the Aquarian energy, the new age of Aquarius, is about brotherly love and service to humanity. All about relationships. Aquarius rules the 11th house, friends, groups, associations, all about relationships. Now, Libra's energy is all about, you know, the actual relationship and partnership. But, you know, Aquarian energy is bringing groups of people together. And the air sign Gemini is all about communication. And those three signs make a trine, harmonious. And therefore, I just say that to say this. Communication is essential in our relationships and partnerships, and how we are able to merge with the within our soul groups. You know, I'm speaking on a soul level, not on a physical level, how we're able to merge into our soul groups, our soul families, because twin souls are part of a soul family, and often the co-parents of that soul family. That's a whole nother topic there. But anyway, it is just definitely essential to have understanding of soul connections, and where your relationship falls accordingly. All right, till next time.